What's up YouTube? Today is the long-awaited update for the Lightning Strike Berserker. As you see, you're downloading the update. You're at 59%, or actually 78 now. But basically, I'm going to go over how the build has changed for the patch and what changes I've made to it and what things I've noticed and how you can optimize your character, why your character sucks, why your character runs out of mana, why your character does no single target damage. Basically, all you need to know to fix up your Lightning Strike Berserker and join the pantheons of the gods of PoE, and you'll be completed, and I will finish completing you by the end of this guide. So anyhow, let's get started and let's see what exactly are the changes that have been made to the build. So quick little overview. Build is stronger than ever now due to the new amulet giving us close to 100% elemental penetration and 100% all resistances, or all elemental resistances that is. It's a much cheaper startup. Now it's actually possible to recommend this build to beginners and noobs because +1 strike gloves are a complete joke to get. They're so affordable. They're so easy to roll with the new Eldritch implicits. I do think the new Eldritch crafting has made the game a lot more beginner friendly. Crafting is much more fun and you don't really completely brick your item. And you can actually incrementally upgrade your item unlike before. And Gale Sight has brought this build's cost way down to the floor because Gale Sight is like a 2 chaos item and it pretty much does the exact same thing as Secrets of Suffering. Now, the big difference in this build and last league is I have focused on 100% spell suppression with Brass Dome, and this has made the build pretty much unkillable. I leveled all the way from 98 to 99 in simulacrums, and as anyone's ever done simulacrums, in order to do that many deathless runs, your character has to be pretty tanky. There's a lot of worst case scenarios in simulacrums that happen, so the fact that you can actually do all the mods means that the character is extremely durable. And the new MTX has made the skill turn to the Mona Lisa, as you can see here. Look at this painting. Absolute sheer perfection, right? So skill looks a lot better than before. Build is way more budget. Build is tankier than ever. And probably does more damage with the new amulet. So let's go over the tree overview and let's see what has changed. So this is going to be a tree overview going over like what the actual tree is. So Endgame's setup could be either 1 or 2 large clusters. I did have someone who has the best Lightning Strike character on the server send me over their POV, and I wanted to go over their tree because I do think the tree is pretty optimal and pretty cool, and it's a little bit different than what's usual. We no longer really need to use Glorious Vanity because, I don't know, I just don't really prioritize Glorious Vanity as much, purely because the character is so tanky, and Glorious Vanity actually removes the stats, which we kind of need for Omniscience. We can take the spell suppression wheel over here. We don't have enough suppression. It is possible to drop the spell suppression wheel in the future if we are able to get enough on gear. We're using the Thread of Hope to take +2 Pierce node. We don't use Inspired Learning, so you can see here. This Thread of Hope is huge value. You can take 1 with Nature, you can take Primeval Force, you can take +2 Pierce, and you can take Force of Nature for Pen. And Warcry Cluster is used when we do not use Red Blade Banner, so you can see here, Warcry Cluster is being used, and this is because this build has no Red Blade Banner. Now, this is a different tree than you're normally used to. This tree does not path up to Charisma. And the reason being is that we take these nodes over here. Champion of the Cause is 8% reservation efficiency, 8%. So that's actually 16%. If you look at Charisma, what it actually is 8% plus 16, so it's 22%. But that 6% extra difference means you have to spend 1, 2, and a bunch of pathing nodes to get up there. And this might just be the more efficient option. And this might mean that you will have to run Enlighten level 4. So this might not be the setup for everyone, and you might need to run a lower level of precision in order to get this to work. Now, this tree is 1 large cluster, and the reason being is that you can drop 2 large clusters if you feel like it, because these medium clusters are such good value. As everyone knows, one of the best ways to get more damage is using these medium clusters with quick getaway and pressure points. This also helps out in us not needing to have 15 brittle to get 100% crit chance. But eventually, if you do get good enough gear, like say you get some suppression on your gear, you could potentially drop this wheel of suppression and go down and get this thing here and take this frenzy charge on hit, which is actually a huge benefit for us. So there's a lot of different little things you can do with the build, and a lot of it changes, right? So depending on how much spell suppression you have, depending on your reservation efficiency, because you can definitely make up this 2%, this 6% reservation efficiency you lose through jewels. So you can get like Secrets of Suffering with 2%. You can get the Thread of Hope with 2% reservation efficiency, like he has. So there's a lot of different things. He doesn't use Mantra of Flames. You can also get that with the 2% reservation efficiency. So that's the way you actually are able to make the mana work with taking this cluster over here instead of using Charisma. And the nice part about this only gives you 6% increased effect of your auras. And I think this actually gives you 6% and 6%. So it's actually 12% aura effect instead of only 6%, which is a pretty big deal in terms of our overall defenses. And like usual, this is going for like 2 max res clusters. So theoretically, this is also using determination reservation efficiency, which allows us to fit the auras in. So you can decide to use this tree if you want to. This is pretty much a very end game oriented tree, but I just wanted to share with you this build because I do think that this end game setup is extremely efficient. This damage is actually insane for at this point in the league, in my opinion. League gear is very good, but there's still a lot of pieces missing. The Brass Dome is not really +2 or corrupted. The Blizzard Crown has no Shaper mod on it, so there's still a lot of ways to improve the gear. There's no prefix on it, damage prefix on this ring. So tons of upgrades, right? Still available, and the damage is already so high, right? Not really sure how much more damage you'll need than this, but we do believe that this tree is very optimal. And taking this or this depends on how much your crit chance is. If you have Cap Brittle, this will be more damage always because crit chance doesn't really do anything for the build. And with how much crit multi we have, there's huge diminishing returns. So now let's go see what the gear we are rocking is currently. So for the gear, I decided to drop Replay Banner because there's really no way to cap suppression without a rare shield when you're using Brass Dome. And you always have max rage on Warcry if you're fighting boss or doing juice maps. So there's really no difference between using Replay Banner and using a rare shield. And also a rare shield is able to have plus max res. So you can see here, the shield actually has +2 to all maximum resistances. So that helps out a lot in the synergy with Brass Dome. Now, Mark of the Elder is the highest damage ring possible and is currently unbeatable. Even if you went into PoB and you try to make a perfect ring, Mark of the Elder actually will not be beat by even a mirror tier ring. What this means is you do have to craft the Shaper ring with stats and accuracy. Now, Headhunter is BIS with how juiced maps are in this world. Currently in raid class, maps are juiced out of the ass. So you definitely want to use Headhunter if possible, and you can theoretically get a percent strength Headhunter, but that might be quite a challenge. And Blizzard Crown with Berserk effect is the best option when used with Shaper's Secrets of Suffering. And so you can see here, Blizzard Crown, this guy's helmet, you can just roll it with stats. You can get some resist on it. So there's a lot of different options for the Blizzard Crown. Make sure to have Berserk effect. Blizzard Crown is really nice because it gives us the cold damage that we need to cap out our Brittle. And Brass Dome is still the best option if you can find a way to get 100% spell suppression without rare chest. When you can get 100% spell suppression with this amount of max resist, you pretty much have more elemental damage mitigation than like Aura Stackers back in the day. And you still have way more ES than a lot of Aura Stackers did. So that's why Brass Dome is insane if you can find a way to get 100% spell suppression. And the way you do get 100% spell suppression is by using the shield and making sure your rares have some sort of spell suppression and taking spell suppression on the tree. So now let's go see what the jewels overview is. So we decided to use Rite of Ruin, Forbidden Flesh, and Flame Ascendancy jewel, and this gives us the Berserk effect, or not Berserk effect, it gives us this thing here, right? So this actually gives us, it's roughly a 33% total damage upgrade, but this is usually when we're at maximum rage, so it's probably around like 20 to 25%. So something to note is that you do lose 2 jewel sockets when using these forbidden jewels, so it's not as big of a damage difference as you think. 2 jewel sockets is roughly like 12% damage increase, or 13, so it is like 10 to 15% more damage on average, but it is not a deal breaker to not use this Forbidden Flesh and Flame Ascendancy jewel. But it's definitely going to be the best option. It'll feel the best to play with if you can get it. Anger Multi Watcher's Eye is the best DPS increase. You can pair it with precision, attack damage, or attack speed. So this one here, you can see this is a perfect Watcher's Eye. Precision attack damage is the highest second mod, and 50% multi with Anger is also the highest DPS mod by itself. Mantra of Flames can nearly cap out Scorch by itself, so this jewel gives you fire damage per buff you have. So if you don't really have fire damage on your claw and you're worried about Scorch, all you have to do is toss in this jewel and you'll be able to cap out your Scorch. Now we want to use Medium Cluster for Warning Call and Lead by Example. So let's see if he actually has this here. So for this thing here, so this actually does not have the cluster, but I would probably run the cluster. I'm not sure. I think he has a slightly different setup currently, but for my build, I would recommend most people to get this cluster. So this is Lead by Example, Warning Call. What Lead by Example does is it gives you Onslaught whenever you War Cry, and Warning Call gives you 100% armor. Now the reason being why he probably does not decide to run this is you can get Onslaught on kill on your boots. So it's not really that big of a deal, but he does have elevated Tailwind boots. So if you do have the boots and you don't really care about Onslaught uptime on bosses because you're just doing maps, it is possible to drop that cluster. But currently for me, I am running the Warning Call and Lead by Example Onslaught cluster. Now let's talk about early upgrades because I do get this question a lot. Now, for early upgrades, the main thing you want to do is make sure you buy the Crystallized Omniscience Amulet and Secrets of Suffering. This should be your first buys whenever you start the character. Headhunter is by far the best option if you plan for general mapping. If you reach a stage where you feel like your character is strong enough and you don't really feel like you have any problems, the best bet is to always start saving for Doctor cards to be able to afford the Headhunter. And I do think that Headhunter might go up in price because there's not really any people magic fighting towers or anything. So make sure to buy the Headhunter as soon as possible if you feel your character is up to snuff. Mark of the Elder and Shaper Ring is definitely a really good upgrade. A lot of people wonder how they can get more damage. Mark of the Elder is a super cheap upgrade, and getting a Shaper Ring is not too much money at all, and it should be relatively affordable, and Mark of the Elder is unbeatable in terms of damage. +2 Strike Gloves helps out with clear immensely, and I think you can pick up a +2 Strike Gloves for like 5 to 6 exalts currently, and you could even craft one for cheaper. So this should be a huge upgrade in helping out your clear. A lot of people don't know that like additional strike means you're attacking one additional time. So normally on a big pack, without strike, you'll attack one time. With +1 strike, you'll attack 2 times. With +2 strike, you'll attack 3 times. And if you have +2 strike and nodes on the tree, you have +3 strike, you'll have attack 4 times. So compared to no strike at all, you'll be doing 4 times the amount of damage on a big pack, which is actually just crazy, and that's how you're able to do juice maps so well with the build, is that strike skills are actually not too bad if you stack it with plus strike skills on the tree and gloves. Now, Blizzard Crown with Berserk Effect is another big upgrade. It costs around roughly, I think, 8 to 10x to buy the base, and you can craft it pretty easily with essences after that. Blizzard Crown is nice. It gives us the cold damage we need for Brittle, and the Berserk Effect is huge as an enchant, and pretty much helping us with damage reduction, and it also gives us a lot of attack damage and speed. And you always want to start planning for clusters when you're in the low to mid 90s, as they're always going to be a huge DPS increase. A lot of people think that these clusters are super expensive, but they're not that bad. This cluster is pretty expensive with Martial Prowess, Feed the Fury, and Fuel the Fight. But you could technically use like Martial Prowess and Fuel the Fight, and a third notable, and it's not that expensive. I think it's less than 1 exalt. Now, clusters will always be the best damage increase. You will start dropping points on the tree. A lot of people take both claw wheels, but if you just take a cluster, it will end up being more damage almost 99% of the time. So now let's see what ores we should run. Personally, for me, I ran Grace and Determination at the start of the league because I felt like I was dying too much. And that's just a personal preference. Grace was huge for me. After getting Evasion rating on Shield and switching to a Jade Flash of Evasion suffix, it gave me around 50% chance to evade. I dropped Grace for Anger because I felt like I was surviving enough. And in the end, I ended up running with Determination, Anger, Defiance Banner, and Precision. You can maybe later run Skitter Bots with Enlighten and Small Cluster for Reservation Efficiency. Or you could try to get Reservation Efficiency on your Helm maybe. So there's a lot of different ways you can fit in Skitter Bots. For him personally, this profile, the endgame profile that this person has, he doesn't use Defiance Banner. So there's a lot of different things you could do. So ores are very flexible. For the most damage possible, Skitter Bots is by far the best choice. And you can definitely find a way to run it if you don't run Defiance Banner. So if you were to do a super late game setup, you probably want to run Determination, Anger, Precision, and Skitterbots. So a lot of people wonder why your character sucks, and I'm here to diagnose you. So yeah, you'll see why this picture is relevant in just a split second. A lot of people wonder why their character sucks, so I'm here to tell you why your character sucks. And this picture has a lot to do with it, right? So you might just say, oh, this is a person like with a camera. What does that even mean? Well, before we get to that, if you're dying, make sure to cap out your spell suppression. This is probably what it says in your profile. And you have to reset elusive with Withering Step. What Withering Step does is it keeps your elusive at around 180% average at all times, and sometimes even higher. So what that means is that you'll have 40% chance to avoid all damage with elusive buff up. And if you let it go down all the way to 0%, you're literally missing out on 35% chance to avoid all damage on average. So make sure to always press Withering Step on cooldown. And make sure you have 100% spell suppression. You can maybe get away without 100% spell suppression if you use Brass Dome and you're not really doing that crazy of content. And now, if you do know single target damage, I do get this a lot. Make sure you understand that Vol Lightning Strike snapshots damage when you cast. But that's why this is literally Vol Lightning Strike over here, this person. And this person is taking a snapshot of what your character is doing. So if your character is doing something foolish, then it's not going to take the snapshot correctly. So you want to make sure you press Berserk at max rage. You have both totems down before using your Vol Lightning Strike. And if you have like a damage flask like Bottle Faith, make sure you press it too. So what this means is that during the entire duration of the Vol Lightning Strike, it will keep what you had on your character when you press the Vol Lightning Strike skill. So if you do not do this and you do not press Berserk, you do not have both totems down, you will do 10 to 20% of your actual damage if you do not do this thing. This is a pretty basic checklist. Make sure you have max rage and you press Berserk. Make sure you have both totems down. And then you press the 2 Vol Lightning Strikes you have, and you will instantly kill almost every single map boss or big boss in the game, right? So just make sure you do this. And another thing that people constantly ask about is mana. The way you fix mana is you can either take the Claw Mastery with Mana Leech, 1% attack damage leech as mana, or you can take the Cluster Jewel here, which gives you an attack damage leech as mana, or you can take the Clever Thief, which is attack damage leech as mana. So you just need attack damage leech as mana. Something that could also help out is crafting on non-channeling skills have -7 to total mana cost so that you can smooth out your mana curve a lot more. Now let's see what conclusions we can draw on the character after we know now how to make the perfect endgame Lightning Strike build. So overall, strongest League starter I've played in a long time. Amulet and Nightblade support is beyond broken, so abuse it as much as possible. And new MTX makes me love the skill a lot more. And see, this is the biceps you'll have from playing this. Super strong. Wait, this picture's bicep looks kind of weak. Well, I guess this is a Raider and this is a Berserker. Didn't really mean for that to happen, but yeah, this guy actually looks a little not shredded. But as you can see, build is better than ever. Endgame, lots of different options, right? This guy has a completely different setup than I did. I do think that this setup might be superior. And just look at the defenses. You can't argue with 87% max res with 100% spell suppression, right? So absolutely bonkers setup. Absolutely crazy endgame potential. And I do think that the new MTX is a game changer. It makes the skill look a lot more pleasant. The other MTX was maybe a little too blinding for my taste. And I do think that there's a lot of different upgrade paths, especially if you want to play this game all the way to the end. In the end, the 12-link claw with the Squire will probably triple your damage. So definitely a build with a very smooth upgrade curve that you can find meaningful upgrades at every stage of the game. And that will make you want to keep playing the game, right? And that's about the main problem with PoE is trying to find a build that's a league starter that you can upgrade all the way till the end. And I do know most of the league starters from this league, like Explosive Arrow and Skelly Mages, are definitely not builds you want to upgrade to the very end of the league, right? So definitely super strong build, and I hope you have enjoyed it and that this video has helped you out in upgrading the build and trying to optimize it as much as possible. And yeah, just take advantage of spell suppression. Make sure you snapshot the VLS damage if you have trouble with single target. And I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods and 1 passive point voices to me. And see you next time. Bye.